Production funding for Flying Squirrels Insider is made possible in part by the all-new 2015 GMC Yukon, offering professional-grade design and functionality. The all-new 2015 GMC Yukon, now available at Richmond area GMC dealers. Dan Doherty at Colonial First Mortgage, assisting customers with home purchasing and mortgage refinancing. Online at colonial1mtg.com and by phone at 804-218-4444. And James Limousine, driven to serve Richmond for 22 years. JamesLimousine.com, 804-273-1540. Of this week's episode of Flying Squirrels Insider, the guys look at a smashing start to May for shortstop Matt Duffy. Hitting coach Ken Joyce visits FSI Field and breaks down the new look for Jarrett Parker. Plus, Michael Feldstein tags along with Ty Blach at the VCU Children's Hospital for a very special edition of Sandlot Sask. It's all straight ahead as FSI begins now.
I just wanted to radio, not another year in Squirrels.
Hey there, and welcome to another episode of Flying Squirrels Insider. I'm your host, Jon Laaser, sitting here at the Colonial First Mortgage baseball desk, along with my good buddies, at least that's what I refer to them as, Jay Burnham and Wes McElroy. We're going to get their thoughts on the Flying Squirrels' first 6 weeks of the season in just a moment, but before we do that, a couple of thank yous. First and foremost, James Limousine. They'll bring us our James Limousine Luxury Coach of the Week this week, guys, as Ken Joyce, the hitting coach for the Flying Squirrels, will be with us on FSI Field. He'll break down the swings of some of the integral portions of the Flying Squirrels batting order. Also, the local Richmond area GMC dealers have provided us a beautiful GMC Sierra to offset the looks of us, the hosts here on set, and we certainly do appreciate that. We also appreciate you being with us, and as a reward, we want to bring you some Flying Squirrels free stuff, and in order to identify you, you need to text FSI to 44544. All right, fellas, it seems like that gets longer every time we do that introduction here, as once again we're at the Colonial First Mortgage baseball desk. And Jay, speaking of longer, we're to that portion of the season where the days start to get longer. We're approaching now where you just tick off those games and those days towards 142. But don't tell that to Matt Duffy. He is coming into his own in the month of May. The Eastern League took notice.
Yeah, the Eastern League took notice, and Matt Duffy really hitting everything in sight. And the thing for Duffy, as he wins the Player of the Week award, the first Flying Squirrel to win such an award this year, hitting everything with precision. He's hitting everything with pizzazz, and he's been able to utilize all fields for the Flying Squirrels, and I think that's key for Matt Duffy. This guy has made an adjustment to the Eastern League. He came out swinging initially in the first 2 weeks of the season, hit a little bit of a lull. I think the league might have adjusted to him. He then countered with an adjustment of his own, and now Duffy looking at one of the better hitters in the Eastern League.
You said something, though, on the broadcast the other night that was very intelligent, and obviously that stuck out to me as rare. Yeah, don't take a shot of yourself. I'm going to do that for you in just a second. But you said, as Matt Duffy has surged, some of the other Pistons have stopped firing in the offense. And Wes, after such a hot start to the season, Tyler Graham comes off the disabled list a little bit slowly.
He did, and I was talking to Tyler about this, and he said, anyone in baseball who comes off the disabled list, when you miss more than a week, you're just out of your rhythm. You got to get back your mental focus. But let's also add in his first at bat coming off the disabled list, he gets plunked in the ribs. And I can tell you personally, there's 3 things in my life I'd never want to go through again: throwing out my back, food poisoning, and busting up your ribs.
And finding a wife, I'll add that one in as a fourth. Yeah, that was a painful
That's too costly.
Too.
But back to the ribs. I mean, anybody who's ever busted up their ribs, it just hurts to walk. It hurts to breathe. So imagine swinging a bat, trying to throw the baseball. I mean, it really does. It hurts to sleep at night when you bust up your ribs. So to get through that and then to come off and get your mental focus, it was kind of bam, bam. So he's just now starting to get back into his groove.
And despite that and that problem with the ribs and, of course, the groin, the Squirrels will benefit eventually from Tyler Graham in that leadoff spot. I don't think there's much question about him and his track record. Kelby Tomlinson didn't have a long track record coming to this league, and it's an old cliche, Jay. Your 9-hole hitter's your second leadoff man, but Tomlinson's coming alive in that spot.
Yeah, and great to see for Tomlinson. This is a guy that came to the Flying Squirrels last year, really struggled at the end of this season, couldn't find his footing in the Eastern League, and even at the start of this year as well, but he's been settling in at the 9th spot for the Flying Squirrels. And for Tomlinson, it took a little bit for him to get used to this league, but he was able to get on base with a few bunt attempts and able to utilize his speed as well, which has been blazing at the bottom portion of the order. That brought along his confidence a little bit, and the fact that he belongs here in the Eastern League. You started to see a little more of the soft line drives from him, and now you're looking at one of the better bottom of the order hitters within the league. And for the opposing pitchers, I know certainly having that tough out at the number 9 spot is something you never want to see.
And as a precursor, on the next episode of Flying Squirrels Insider, Kelby has agreed to join us on FSI Field. He's going to give you a bunting tutorial, specifically how to lay down that push bunt, which has really become his trademark, guys, particularly against left-handed pitchers. We like to slot this segment from our Colonial First Mortgage baseball desk like a batting order. We started with the table setters, the leadoff guys, and then those second leadoff guys at the bottom of the order. But let's get to the meat and potatoes guys in the middle. And it's been an up-and-down stretch west for Jarrett Parker, Angel Villalona, and certainly Mario Liso.
Let me start with Mario. It's the strikeouts right now. If you take a look at him right now with runners in scoring position, 31 strikeouts in the season. He's got 14 strikeouts with runners in scoring position. You know, it's basic baseball. You got to put the bat on the ball to do something. And you don't always have to get a hit, but you can't be striking out. His strikeouts are hurting him. And with Villalona, his issue right now is we knew Villalona had the power. It was the question of consistency. It's his second time around through the Eastern League. Guys are getting to know him. He seems to be really struggling with the breaking ball. So for him, it's trying to get things back in a rhythm. With Lison, his overall numbers are actually up a little bit more in May, but it's the strikeouts that are really bruising him up.
And Ken Joyce will join us just a couple of moments from now here on FSI Field. And Angel Villalona is one that we'll have in focus as he is going to show us what he's working on actually behind the scenes. We've always appreciated the candor and the in between the lines feel that we get from Ken Joyce. We'll get that today. Well, Jay, a little bit of an awkward transition, but it stays offensively. We're going to talk about the catchers. Now, Jeff Arnold unfortunately injured himself first game of the season. Miles Schroeder has been thrust behind the plate in an everyday role, and I think as that summer heat arrives, so does fatigue for the Squirrels' primary catcher.
Yeah, and that's no knock on Jeff Arnold. Here's a guy that caught 25 games in his entire career, and he comes out of the gates in 2014 and catches that amount of games in his first month. I know I've talked to several scouts who really like Schroeder behind the plate. He's got that huge arm. That's something that we've talked about on the broadcast. Has a very good pop time to second base, and is accurate as well. Offensively, he's been able to stick for the Flying Squirrels, but you'd like to see him at least get a couple of days here and there, or maybe be mixed in more as that utility guy, which is what the purpose of Schroeder to begin the season was when he arrived in Richmond. Of course, as you just referenced, the injury to Jeff Arnold changed all that for Schroeder in a heartbeat.
Also, not a knock on Schroeder, it was just a lack of opportunity, but Jeff Arnold has served as the primary catcher for a lot of these prospects, and notably, Wes, Kyle Crick. He doesn't have that security blanket. We've seen him struggle at times, I think not due entirely to that, but in part because of that. Where's Crick right now?
Right now, his fastball last time out, his fastball command was a whole lot better. It's his secondary pitches that are really jacking up his pitch count. He's a guy right now who's not gotten through, if I remember, he's not gotten past the 4th inning in his last 5 starts. And you're also talking about an inning average of about 25 pitches. That's taxing on him, and that's taxing on your bullpen in the long run.
Yeah, and we'll start to see that tax the defense as well as that heat continues to swelter here in the RVA. That's not a complaint. We love to live and work here. And it seems like Ty Blach loves to work at the Diamond, Jay. He's got the comfort level of the big ballpark. He throws strikes. Is it fair to say right now that of the 4 horsemen, so to speak, in this starting rotation, he's the farthest along?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say, and I think that's probably what we assumed coming out of spring training. For a guy like Blach, you see pitchers that come out of college a little more polished, and what Blach was able to do and really eviscerate the California League last season, he hasn't really had those moments where you say, why is he throwing that pitch? Or maybe he misses on a spot or two, but you know at least the intent that he has when he's throwing those pitches are true, and they're probably the right path for him to take. So I think everybody has enjoyed watching Ty Blach pitch. I know the scouts have certainly enjoyed seeing him throw as well, and for the Squirrels, I think he's going to win them a fair share of games this year.
Clayton Blackburn we don't reference there, and I thought it was the finest start that we had seen for Blackburn 2 starts back against the Harrisburg Senators on the road. He no-hit the Sens through 5 innings, and we really saw his entire bag of tricks. Unfortunately, as we've also seen for some of these young guys, it unraveled on him in the 6th inning. Some lessons to be learned, though, there, and I think Jack Snodgrass probably after that start, Wes, talked to Clayton Blackburn about some of the things that went wrong in that 6th inning. How important is the most consistent pitcher, regardless of age or prospect level, in Snodgrass to this team?
You said it right there. That's the beauty of Jack Snodgrass, that he can talk to some of these guys who are coming up, trying to figure things out. Matt Duffy said something to me that really stuck today about just the basic principles of being called up. He said, when you get called up, everybody wants to press and try to prove that they belong, when in fact they do belong, because that's the reason they got called up. Jack Snodgrass knows that. He's figured that out. He's the guy who can talk to guys about pitch sequence, what to do when you're pressing, what to do when things are going good, when things are going bad. And right now, Jack's putting up some really good numbers, good ERAs. His inning count's going up. So Jack's reliable. He's very reliable on the field and definitely off.
Well, the guys that aren't in the ballgame, as long as the starters, we won't discuss them in as much length. But let's go rapid fire through some bullpen issues. And let's start with Derek Law. He's had a little bit more of a struggle the last few times out. Jay, any concern level?
No, I don't think there's any concern. I think with Law, you see the fastball, you see the breaking ball, and those are his 2 pitches. He's been able to throw them accurately for strikes. I think maybe he might need to mix them up just a bit more. But all in all, I think Law's fine.
And the sidearm guys have been fine as well. Edwin Quirarte has really rode to the rescue quite a bit. You've been pointing that out aptly on our radio broadcast. Quirarte right now has stranded 14 of the inherited 16 runners that he has inherited a lot of times from those starting pitchers. So again, the Squirrels a little bit up, a little bit down, and just a couple of games over 500 right now. But as we've said from the outset, we feel this team is going to get stronger and stronger through the middle portion of the season. We like to think that this show gets stronger and stronger, not only through the season, but throughout the course of the episodes, and that because these guys lead off, then they're out of here, and we bring in our superstars. We'll have Ken Joyce, our James Limousine Luxury Coach of the Week, with us a little bit later on. But we wanted to take some time today when we come back on FSI to showcase some of the things that happen behind the scenes. Ty Blach has been heavily involved thus far this season.
I'm Michael Feldstein, and welcome to another edition of Sandlot Sass here on FSI. The Richmond Flying Squirrels take a lot of pride in being involved and active in the community in Richmond, and for left-handed starter Ty Blach, it's no different. Although he's been a flying squirrel for less than 2 months, Ty Blach has been active in reaching out and making a difference in the lives of kids, as this week he paid a visit to the Children's Hospital of Richmond at VCU.
You can color any way you want, any color. You don't have to copy off of this.
Okay, so you just make it whatever color she wants, huh?
So what does it mean to these kids to have someone come in and maybe brighten their day?
It means a lot to our kids to know that the community cares about them when they're here, and to get to meet somebody famous is a pretty cool thing as a kid. And baseball is something that kids really get. They understand it. Most kids have played it at some point, and so to meet somebody, a real baseball player, really is very exciting for our kids.
You were showing them how to draw, right? What were you showing them how to do?
I was showing him how to draw a Minnie Mouse.
Can we see the Minnie Mouse?
See?
You want to be a basketball player when you grow up? Cool. Well, just keep working hard, okay? And you can make it. Keep working hard and keep smiling, okay? What's your favorite color? Purple? Purple? I like purple too. It's a good color.
Who's your favorite player?
Big Poppy.
David Ortiz? Yeah, you like Big Poppy? Now you got to meet Ty. What did you like? Was he nice to you?
Yes.
What did he talk to you about?
Yeah, that's not
Trick question?
Yeah.
You have this enthusiasm to reach out in the community. Where is this passion coming from?
You know, it just comes from the platform that I've been given. God's really blessed me with this amazing platform to come out and serve people. And as a baseball player, kids really look up to us, and we can be such influential role models in their life. So I just want to give it back as much as I can and see if I can bring a smile to their faces. I think it's really special when you just see them light up. You see their faces light up, and you get this big smile out of them, like, oh my gosh, it's a baseball player. And you know, for us, it doesn't seem like that big a deal, but it really is to those kids, and that's what it's all about.
You talk about that greater responsibility. Where did that come from?
You know, I've had a great family, a great upbringing, and you know, our faith's always been really important to us, and my parents have really guided me, and you know, my little sister's been there for me too, and so we've all kind of stuck together, and I've had a great support group coming up with friends and in high school and college, and all kind of have similar values, so that's kind of where it all comes from, and the people who you're around kind of drive you to who you want to be.
He's Jarrett Parker, the most interesting ball player in Virginia. When he breaks a bat, the diamond flags are lowered to half staff for the rest of the game. At least that's the plan if he ever breaks a bat, which he hasn't, and he won't. The National Preservation Society has placed his hair on the list of American landmarks. It sits just above Mount Rushmore and the Lincoln Memorial.
Not all squirrels come from Virginia, but this one does. Stay squirrely, my friends.
And welcome back to FSI. We've taken it to FSI Field, and we're now joined by one of our favorite guests and frequent contributor to the program, hitting coach Ken Joyce. And Kenny, thanks for being back with us.
My pleasure, Lays. It's great to be back here since last year when I gave you that big red bat. I hope it's been working for you.
It has been. I've been making solid contact, and that's why we have you back today, because some hitters that struggled a bit last year have been making better contact this year, and we're going to have you break down for us why when we kick out these chairs and get in the batter's box, which we'll do in just a couple of moments. But before we do that, I wanted to take some viewers through what we're about to be discussing. And we're going to start with Jarrett Parker, because he has become the three-hole hitter for this team, and he looks like a different guy this year.
Yeah, no question. I think one of the things that's happened with Jarrett is he's become real comfortable coming back to the Eastern League for his second season, part of that being the fact that he is from Richmond and the most interesting ball player in Richmond.
If people are astute in their viewership of this program, they might catch the voice of those most interesting ball player in Virginia snippets. But one thing I've noticed, I noticed it a little bit last year, but it seems like it's been even more exaggerated this year. Jarrett's got a little OCD in him, doesn't he?
No question about it. You know, he's got his own routine that he starts in the on-deck circle, lining up his buttons, making sure they line up with his belt, and from there it goes to twirling the weight before he puts in the on-deck circle, walking up the home plate, of course, flipping the hair and putting the helmet on a certain way. So those are things that I guess he feels comfortable doing.
I do a lot of those very same things with my jacket. I've got some help here from our support staff on Flying Squirrels Insider. But when the clock runs out, you've got to get in the box. And speaking of being in the box, Angel Villalona, who we're also going to break down where he's at this year as compared to last year, sometimes diving out of the box has been his issue.
Yeah, no question. I think with Villa, his effort level gets a little bit too big. Trying to create home runs, trying to create power where all he has to do is relax. Last night we saw in a game where he took a 96-mile-an-hour fastball, took a nice easy swing and drove a double for an RBI. If we can get him to do that, he certainly has a chance to play in the big leagues.
And we saved the best of late for last in Matt Duffy. He's been probably the most disciplined guy that you've had at the plate, Kenny, and you're going to show us why he's been able to use all fields successfully.
Yeah, there's no question. He was an accomplished hitter before he got here, but he certainly has made the adjustments to the Eastern League as the pitchers have adjusted to him.
Well, let's not waste any more time talking here. Let's show people how we do it. And we're going to start with Jarrett Parker, as we're going to have Kenny go through that entire pre-at-bat routine, but then also show you how he looks different in the batter's box here in year 2 as a Richmond Flying Squirrel, now the anchor of the offense. And we'll also talk Angel Villalona and Matt Duffy, the setup for the right-handed batters, when FSI continues right here on FSI Field. All right, here we are where Ken Joyce is most comfortable in the batter's box today on FSI Field. And Kenny, we're going to start with Jarrett Parker, and I just mentioned comfortable, and that seems to be something that's very important to him. We joke about it a little bit, his pre-at-bat routine, and because we didn't bring the wig, we're not going to have you do the hair fixing that he does before he starts walking to the plate. But show us some of the rituals that he has when he steps in the batter's box.
Well, I think one of the things, Lays, that you'll notice right off, those of you who come to the Diamond and actually come to the games, you'll notice that he has probably the jazziest walk-up song in all baseball.
Absolutely. That's important.
And, he gets that jazz going in his head, and he walks up the home plate. And first thing he'll do is he'll kind of clear the way, making sure that he gets the any kind of footprints out of the way that anybody left behind. Once he does that, he'll start to get ready, and he'll start to just kind of keep his hands inside the ball, kind of point like where he's going to try to hit the ball. And once he gets his feet set, he'll widen his stance out a little bit, and then he'll kind of get in here and check his bat and make sure he's ready. Look out at the pitcher to make sure the pitcher knows he's there. Check his bat again, and then once he's set, it's ready to go.
And we have a little fun with that, but obviously it's important to each guy to have their own little nuances to get ready to hit, which is something you emphasize. What are you guys doing with Jarrett right now to get him ready to hit? There are some differences between last year and this year.
No question. One of the things that we've changed was last year when Jarrett was in the box, he was a lot taller, standing upright, and he had a little toe tap where he'd actually bring his foot in and then go back out to get set before he'd actually go to the ball. But this year what we've done is we've widened him out a little bit. His base is wider, he's more athletic. And as you notice when he's in the box now, it's more of a little knee tuck, pick the foot up, put it back down to get in position to hit. And as we know, as we learned last year, Lays, it's important to gain resistance with that front side to be able to use your back hip to create the proper swing. So he's in position to hit now.
And an even more simple change, you've moved him up a little bit towards the plate.
No question. He's also on top of the plate, which was a big problem at the beginning of last year and partway through the beginning of this year with left-handed pitchers especially. As we know, he got hit last year in San Jose, 2 years ago in San Jose, so he's actually uncomfortable, but he's getting better and better now, getting close to the plate and actually covering the whole plate, using the whole field.
Some people don't know that Kenny is also the state of Maine two-step champion. Let's do a little two-step and switch sides here, if you wouldn't mind. And let's talk about a couple of right-handed batters as we continue here, and that's how it goes in the order as well. A couple batters later, Angel Villalona will follow Jarrett Parker to the plate. We saw a lot of good things from Angel the first few weeks of the season. He's regressed a little bit when he does that. What's the issue for him?
The biggest problem with Villa is that he gets a tendency to try to create too much. He's trying to hit for power. His swing gets real big at times, and he'll get in the box and he's getting set up, and all of a sudden you'll see him, and he'll, instead of being up straight, he'll start to get a little bit lower and lower. And now what he'll do is he'll use his upper half to chase the ball and bend at the waist. And when he bends at the waist, it starts to create bad angles. You can see the angle of my bat right now. It's going to be weak fly balls the opposite field, or he's going to end up rolling over that top hand, hitting ground balls to the pull side.
Is it sometimes dangerous for a guy like that? He's so strong that we've seen him have success even a lot of times in a bad hitting posture.
Well, that's what happens. And, he'll be out where he's out in front. His rear end is sticking out this way in the opponent's dugout, and all of a sudden he's still hitting line drives because he's such a strong guy. Sometimes he thinks that's a good thing, but it isn't. The biggest thing with him is to recognize breaking balls and realize he needs to stay back, keep that resistance with the front side. Once his front knee goes out over his front foot, he's in trouble. At least most hitters are, but when you're big and strong like him, you can still sometimes use your hands.
A lot of people don't realize in minor league baseball, even when you're on the developmental side like Kenny is, you wear a lot of hats. Kenny has become English professor, and I say that a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but obviously very important cultural adaptation for some of these Latin guys like Villalona helps them feel more comfortable at the plate.
Yeah, no question. We got Villalona and Mejia actually come into English class during homestands. We have a video camera on the computer setup where they're taking classes with a teacher that's out in Arizona that helps these guys during spring training. So, yeah, it's part of my role now as the assistant professor of English.
Well, you're also the fixer, and we only have a few seconds left, Kenny, to focus on Matt Duffy. We haven't had to focus much on him lately because he's been locked in. How come?
Well, the biggest thing with Matt is at the beginning of the year he started off well, started to get comfortable, and then in his stance, and I'm actually going to turn sideways, in his stance he started to set up where he's already loaded to his backside. When you're trying to hit, you want to create rhythm from the center of your body to your backside to allow time for your front foot to get down to create that resistance to throw the back hit. With Matt, he was already starting back and then going forward. And Lays, as you know, if you come over here for a second, I'm going to have you stand in the box.
Oh, great.
If this is a 92-mile-an-hour fastball and you're starting on your backside, you go forward as the ball gets to you, that 92 becomes 98. and that's what was happening to Matt. But now that he's starting in the middle and actually going to the backside, getting the front foot down, he's now making that 92 seem more like 88.
92 always feels like 98, regardless of weight transfer for me. Kenny, always so much fun. We could talk hitting all day, but unfortunately, we are out of time for FSI. Thanks to all our great sponsors and, of course, you, the viewers. We'll see you next time when Kelby Tomlinson joins us with that bunting tutorial here on FSI Field.
Production funding for Flying Squirrels Insider is made possible in part by the all-new 2015 GMC Yukon, offering professional-grade design and functionality. The all-new 2015 GMC Yukon, now available at Richmond area GMC dealers. Dan Doherty at Colonial First Mortgage, assisting customers with home purchasing and mortgage refinancing. Online at colonial1mtg.com. And by phone at 804-218-4444. And James Limousine, driven to serve Richmond for 22 years. JamesLimousine.com, 804-273-1540.